Rajesh spent the entire day immersed in the fading remnants of Damodar's life, a haunting search that led him from cluttered desks to empty apartments, from dusty cabinets to untouched digital folders. He moved through the spaces Damodar had once inhabited, breathing in the stale air of abandoned intent. Damodar's apartment offered little: half-finished food in the fridge, a stack of unpaid bills, a photo of a woman Rajesh couldn't identify. Nothing screamed foul play, but everything reeked of absence. Back at the office, Rajesh sifted through Damodar's files, trying to see the world as his friend had. Project notes, scribbles, drafts. Each document seemed detached from reality, fragments of a man who had disappeared without a trace. The hours dragged on, and frustration became a drumbeat inside Rajesh's skull. There was no letter, no sign, no reason. The sun had long vanished by the time Rajesh stepped out of the building. The parking lot was dimly lit, shadows stretching across cracked pavement. The silence was uncanny. No honking, no footsteps, just the gentle buzz of a flickering streetlight. He walked past the usual lineup of bikes and cars, mind numb, when a familiar silhouette brought him to a halt. It was Damodar's bike. There it stood, untouched, coated with a thin layer of dust. The lock was still intact, its chain rusted at the edges. Rajesh's heart began to race. How had no one noticed this? Was it hidden in plain sight all along? Or had someone moved it here recently? Looking around and seeing no one, Rajesh crouched and yanked the lock. It wouldn't budge. He reached into his backpack, pulled out a small iron rod he kept from past investigative field work, and with a sharp twist, broke the lock. The sound echoed like a gunshot in the still night. He opened the small underseat compartment, praying for something, anything, that would offer a lead. His hands grazed over an old plastic bag, a pen, and then a leather keychain, aged and scuffed, with the name Dev etched in fading gold, and beneath it, a tiny, weather-worn notebook. Rajesh's breath caught in his throat. What the hell was Dev's name doing in Damodar's bike? Before he could think, a voice shattered the stillness. "Hey, stop right there!" A beam of light cut through the night. The security guard's flashlight flicked from one end of the lot to the other. Panic flared. Rajesh clutched the notebook and keychain and sprinted. The guard shouted behind him, but his voice was quickly swallowed by the night. Rajesh darted between vehicles, then through a gap in the fencing, and disappeared into a narrow alley that led to the main road. Only when he had put a few blocks between himself and the lot did he slow down. His legs ached by the time he reached his apartment. He shut the door behind him and locked it tight. The silence inside was both comforting and eerie. He collapsed onto the bed, the keychain clenched in one fist and the notebook in the other. His mind was racing, adrenaline still surging, but his body gave in to exhaustion. He drifted into a restless sleep, plagued by dreams filled with flickering images. Damodar's face, bloodied and silent. The word Dev carved into a wall. The sound of keys jingling in an unseen hand. The next morning arrived gray and cold. A strange heaviness hung in the air. Rajesh sat up slowly. Something didn't feel right. He rubbed his eyes and scanned the room. A chair by the window was slightly out of place, angled just a few degrees off from where he always kept it. On the table, his files had been subtly disturbed. And then he noticed it, a faint but unmistakable scent of cigarette smoke. He didn't smoke. Rajesh's chest tightened. Someone had been inside, while he was asleep, while he lay vulnerable, clutching evidence. He checked the door. It was locked, just as he left it. The windows were shut, but the kitchen latch seemed tampered with. It wasn't paranoia anymore. Someone had entered and left quietly, carefully. Trying to steady his nerves, he turned to the notebook. It had survived the night. Flipping through the first few pages, he found what appeared to be disjointed notes. Times, dates, names. But as he continued, the contents darkened. The entries were methodical. Each one described a different person, age, occupation, habits, and ended with a detailed note on how they died. Some were strangled, others poisoned. The final lines of each entry were chillingly similar. Stage complete. No connections. Rajesh's fingers trembled. He cross-referenced the dates. All the deaths occurred within a few weeks of each other, each roughly a month apart, with a pattern of escalation in brutality. The writer of the notebook was organized, calculating, someone who knew how to cover tracks. But what did Damodar have to do with this? The keychain with Dev's name suddenly felt heavier in his palm. A feeling of unease took over. Rajesh opened his laptop and searched through company files and personnel records. It didn't take long. Developer full name: Devendra Kapoor. Rajesh's boss. The revelation hit like a punch to the gut. What were the odds? Unless it wasn't a coincidence. Questions crashed into each other in Rajesh's head. Did Damodar discover something about Dev? Was that why he disappeared? Had he been silenced before he could expose the truth? Rajesh's breathing quickened. His gaze darted back to the chair, the cigarette smell. Someone had been in his room, possibly Dev, or someone working for him. They had gone through his things and left without a trace. Why hadn't they taken the notebook? Maybe they didn't find it. Or maybe they wanted him to find it, to be afraid. A warning. His hands curled into fists. He wasn't just dealing with a missing person anymore. He was caught in something far darker, something that involved murder, manipulation, and now a personal threat. Rajesh stood up slowly, the morning light casting long shadows on the wall. The room felt colder now, tighter. The line between safety and danger had been erased. One thing was clear. Dev wasn't just his boss. He was involved. And now that Rajesh knew, he was part of the game. There was no going back. He had to move quickly.